So, we need to drive there.
Drive safe.
We also need to do some repairs. We need to fill up on some gas. Fair amount of stuff. If I really felt like it, I could probably hardcore this and just like teleport to services just to get straight into town immediately. But, you know, that's a bit cheap.
Get ready to turn right.
We can at least go very fast, which is nice.
Turn right.
We can just go straight through here, right? Yeah. I mean, this isn't where we're meant to be. But can I just drive across your garden?
Find a new route.
Fun. Oop, we're on the curb. There we go. Let's fill up and get ready to head to Cody. We want to. Oh, we'll get, because the GPS is leading us to the pickup first. So we'll get to the pickup. And we'll go over here, which we do just over here. Can we just drive down the hill? I want to see whether or not there's an invisible wall. Oh, there is A, there's an invisible wall. B, there's also a fence there, so... Okay. Ooh. I want to just be able to off-road it and just go straight down there. Why not? I don't see why not.
Never mind. I'll find a new route.
Speaking of why not, we'll just go on the wrong side of the road. Hello, Mr. Policeman. Nothing to see here. I've been playing too much on my Switch lately, so my A's and B's, my reflex for A and B is now backwards, which is annoying. I also need to sleep, don't I? Yeah, that's annoying. There's plenty of time on the job, at least, so I don't need to worry about that. It's not going to expire. I should sleep first before I actually pick up the job.
Rerouting.
Should have done that when I got gas.
Okay, let's find a new route.
Time goes slow when you're actually in a town, but still.
Never mind.
Over to the truck
I'll
stop.
find a new route. Make a U-turn now.
It's 2 AM. I don't like 2 AM. Oh well, let's just go. Let's go pick up the job. It'll just be a bit boring for the first bit. It's fine, I guess. I could sleep again if I wanted to. But that'll take me through too much of the day, I think.
Turn left.
God damn it, already taking damage. I can see the headlights. Oh, it means the viewpoint is going to be boring as well. I guess we'll get to see the city lights.
Turn left. Turn left. Keep left, and then turn left. Turn left. Keep left, and then turn left. Turn left.
I go through the drive-thru. I fancy a burger. Okay, let's go to the viewpoint first. Looks like I can actually go down there anyway. There we go. Breaking every road rule, still using indicators. There is a reason for that. The reason for that is if you use your indicators, the AI will recognize that you've used your indicators. So they will sometimes stop or give way, things like that. So you're less likely to hit them. Activate viewpoint. Over plains and mountains, 5 out of 10. So we're working our way through that. Unfortunately, the city of Evanston is a bit dark at the moment. There's a bison and a horse. Is the horse racing the bison? What's going on here? This looks like a dressage thing. It's like a bullfighting ring as well. It's like a rodeo all over. I don't understand rodeos. I've never really watched anything to do with them. I know there's clowns, but that's the only thing I really know about. Well, that was the city of Evanston. I don't know if I accidentally skipped that by knocking my controller into there. I think I can go left into Walbert as well, or is there like an access road? I mean, it says pickup. Oh, but that's the way out. Okay, never mind. When you play this game, it doesn't matter if there's a car in the lane, you can just push the car into the ditch. Oh, same. Don't get me wrong. I muscled a car almost into a river earlier, but it's more that just like when you're changing lanes and stuff, it's more for the traffic that might be coming up behind you. If you indicate, then it won't come up. I don't like taking damage if I don't have to, basically, is the point. I don't care what happens to the car. I'm more interested in what might happen to me and the damage I might accrue. I don't care about the damage cost either, because I've got plenty of money to afford the repairs. It's purely about if I damage... if I get damage and the truck then starts getting the engine failures, that's annoying. Ready for Montana in 6 days? You betcha. Well, I'm getting ready for Montana in 6 days. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm going up to Cody and exploring the new roads they've got up that way. I'm ready to come up and base myself in Wyoming and then have my truck teleported back to Flagstaff because of map changes like they always do. Give me a sec. Alright, sorry about that, just had to go help out. I've got a carer that looks after our daughter for during the day a lot of the time, but yeah, if she's got questions and stuff about things, they need to respond still. Anyway, where were we? Driving. Yeah, let's get moving. You get back into the game, purchase Wyoming, they never played it? Yeah. I will play through the new expansions when they come out, and then usually mean to do more, because I'll do the deliveries as part of the launch event. Like, I'm currently unlocking more of the viewpoints. I meant to come back and do all of the viewpoints earlier, and just never have. Too many other games, so that happens. ETS2 that put the Rush DLC on the back pedal for current World event. Yeah, understandable. I mean, they've also announced they're doing the, I can't remember the name of the DLC, but basically down around the Slavic states and such, which is good. Though I think they're still stopping short of actually including Greece, which is weird. Balkans, that's the one. I don't remember seeing Greece mentioned. And yeah, that's weird. Maybe they'll be doing that one separately as well, right, but
and then turn right.
I don't know. Should just release one called ETS2 Odyssey and be like Assassin's Creed. But I'd have just made it like the Adriatic DLC or something, and yeah, made it go all the way down. Because I feel you should be able to then catch like the ferry from Italy across to Greece and stuff like that. Yeah, kind of. Maybe they just felt that they need to stretch it out a bit more. Yeah, I'm pretty keen for that one as well. It fills in a bit of a gap, even if it doesn't fill it out completely. It's yeah, a little bit of a gap currently in between the main body of Europe and through to the Black Sea area.
Keep left, then turn left.
Like, it always seemed weird to me that they did the Black Sea first, but I'm guessing that's
Turn
because
left.
and it'll be interesting to see what they do in terms of, like, the Kosovo border and stuff as well. But I think with that, and even for the Russia one as well, they could just stick to their guns and basically say, look, we are going to release this as we originally planned, with the borders as they originally were, for historic reasons. Now, I was saying in Discord, actually, you're surprised they did the Balkans due to Kosovo and Serbia? Yeah. But their player base in that area is going to be really small, right? So they're not going to offend many people. I think the best thing they should do is just go with what most countries recognize internationally, like through the UN and stuff. It's like recognize that yes, Kosovo is its own nation, and they deserve that recognition, and just include that. If they piss off a few Serbians, then I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, that is the state of things. There's no point just hanging on to people that don't want to be there. That's toxic. It's not cool. And yeah, I don't think you're going to alienate a very large player base. With the Russia DLC, I believe there is a lot more of a Russian player base for the game, though they likely just play with pro mods anyway, because they have the expanded world map already. It's not as good quality as what you get in the actual DLCs, which is why I don't play it, but it is there. But what I would like them to do is just rename the Heart of Russia DLC to be the Glory of Ukraine DLC, and only do Ukraine, and stop at the Russian border, and don't have any connections to the Russian border. That's what I'd like them to do. But they've done a lot of hard work in the assets for Russia itself, so it's a shame to throw that away. And in which case my next preference is that they should just keep that and just release it as a pro mods have been all the way down to Greece for years. Yeah, I know. It's just not very good, in my opinion. I've looked at the pro mods. I've seen people playing on it. It has the roads, but the roads are just land. All they can do really is reuse existing assets, whereas the effort that SCS do when they add new DLC is making like local characteristics, putting in landmarks that relate to the area, relevant industries, all of that sort of stuff. So, yeah. That's the point of difference between the two. And I'd much prefer to just wait until it's done properly than be disappointed with something that's just for the sake of it. Don't agree with the politics rush doesn't mean I don't want to drive around it. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. That's why it would be nice if they just proceed as is and just say, well, this DLC was planned well before the current conflict. We are going to respect our fans and our players and those that were excited for it. We still want to treat them to this, and we don't want to throw away the good work that the development team have already done and just, yeah, release it as they intend to. But obviously it might still have to be delayed, because if they still were intending on doing like exploratory work, because they do a lot of on-site, they send teams to go and investigate areas, they won't be able to do that in a lot of areas that they're wanting to include. So it's just, it has to be delayed for safety reasons, basically. Same reason that I think things got delayed through pandemic times, because they weren't able to do the same. They did some things remotely, but I think they weren't able to send their teams to do due diligence, and like even such things as like ambient sound recordings they usually try and do for the local regions, and you're not going to be able to do that. You can't get a team on the ground in that sort of situation, so that's fully understandable. And there's lots of other things that they can work on in the meantime. I mean, the other misgiving I had even from the start in terms of when they announced that they were going to do a DLC that included part of Russia. It's like, that's a huge place. Like, there's going to be a lot of boring driving, unfortunately. Just, let's be honest, there's going to be a lot of driving through plains with not much to see, because it is a long way to anywhere, even in Western Russia. I know they're not doing the whole country or anything, but even just to get to Moscow, it's a long way.
Go straight.
Car crashes of real cars being squished by their sound team? Yeah. That would be a fun job, wouldn't it? That's some due diligence right there. I mean, there's a lot of... Yeah, you can just go to a wrecker's yard, right? And I'm sure they'll be more than happy to have you set up a microphone near a machine. The thing that lets me down still a bit in the sound design is when you're outside of your vehicle. If you're in like, sorry, bump the mic. If you're in the scenic mode and you go past one of the vehicles, oh, they're not accelerating so you can't hear it. But the sound of the cars revving as they go past you is rough. The truck sounds are good when you're in the cab and everything. The NPC car sounds, they all sound like diesels. And not very well tuned ones at that. But when you're actually in the cab, you don't really hear the cars that you pass all that often anyway, and that's how most people play the game. It's just a bit discordant, because when you're out of the cab in the scenic view, then you don't hear as much of your own truck sound. So the other one, the car sounds, come through a lot more. Or the truck horns suck. Yeah, true. What is it? To be fair, I have no idea what the horn of this particular truck sounds like in real life. I don't know if it's accurate or not.
Turn right.
Can I cut the corner? Yes. Good. Usually you don't take damage from hitting invisible walls that just block your progress, so it's worth trying to see whether you can cut corners. But the other thing on the horns is that I never use the horn, so I don't really care. The horn doesn't do it there, so the indicators can be useful, because like if I indicate when I'm overtaking, then something will usually give way. Like he actually stopped before I cut in front of him, which is nice. As far as I can tell, the horn doesn't do a damn thing. What a horn that will blow your eardrums. I think there might be a second key for another horn. I'm not sure. The other thing is that like you can add more horns to the roof. Like you can add a roof rack, add more spotlights, add horns, but they don't come on. Like they don't seem to be used. I don't think it changes the sound at all with the horns, and they never seem to come on. I think they only come on with high beams for any spotlights that you add. You can't add anything that will just be on as part of just low beam, I think. Something along those lines. It's just a theory, because I've got some... Oh no, I don't even have any here. Oh, I've got two up... Whoop, I've got two up top. Yeah. Even high beams, they don't come on. So that's disappointing. Like, you add the extra spotlights, they'll show up on the, like, truck preview thing. I think they turn on when you're in the photo mode, maybe? But they don't seem to be on otherwise at all, which is kind of a bummer. It's like, well, I spent extra money to have extra spotlights to increase my visibility. Why can't I see them? Unless that's just a setting that I have set at medium instead of high or something like that. I also don't know.
Get ready to turn right.
Ah. I was meaning to check my route. I just noticed that I was coming up to an intersection. And there was some grey. Okay, you know what? No, I think I'll stick to this road to get up there rather than coming in that way. Simply because there's not much else up there. There's no extra viewpoint or anything up that way. Whereas there is going this way. So, we'll go this way. That's all good. As I was. Press F3 you can turn on your AUX lights. Oh, really?
Turn right.
I mean, I still don't like the fact that it's a separate thing, but that is something I've not investigated. F3 menu, that's the one that brings up all the other options and stuff. Oh, that's... no, F3 is this one. You mean... I think I know the one you mean. Because there is, like, the... is it F1? F1. No, that you can toggle side mirrors and things like that. Yeah, I think there might be another menu or something. Yeah, not sure. But it should be better than that, right? They should just come on when you normally put your lights on, or at least high beams. If I'm adding extra spotlights. F4 maybe seat mirrors. Yeah, that might be the one that I was thinking of, yeah.
Recomputing.
Just lights. There we go. Auxiliary. I can increase the dashboard backlight. That's handy. Never really done that before.
But never mind.
So now are they on?
Go straight.
I still don't see them. Unless they're only on when I'm in that menu or something. I'm not going to waste more time on them. It's just a shame that they're not on as part of your normal lights or high beams. I feel they should be.
Rerouting. Recomputing.
How is that rerouting? Just because I hit across the center line? Okay. Okay, Geralt. You're going to hate me now, no?
Okay. Finding new recomputing. Never mind. I'll find a new route. Go straight.
This is where I love doing the normal jobs instead of the external contracts, because I can go 80 instead of 65. Need to turn on your lights now. Yeah, my lights are on, that's the thing. They're on full, they're not even just on driving lights. So, I don't know. $88 miles an hour. Where we're going, we don't need lights.
Go straight.
Go straight. As opposed to what? That wasn't an intersection. Go home, Geralt, be drunk.
Keep left, and then turn left. Turn left.
I should have cut through the service station. Never mind. It's not actually... It doesn't show as a service station. That's interesting. Must be cosmetic. It's not actually a truck stop. Weird. Oh well. The dashboard to highest because you can't see how you're going. Yeah, I had it at 80% and I could see it with that. But also there's the miles per hour on the GPS view that I always keep up. Yeah, it's less immersion, I know, but I like to keep that display. So that way I can have the dash GPS for just local view, and then I can zoom out on the other one, because you can't change the focus on the one that's on the dash. Or at least I haven't figured out how to put it that way. And a viewpoint. This looks scenic. Let's enjoy. Boyson State Park. 6 out of 10 for the state. I just hate it when you get a loose moustache here in your coffee. Not cool. Don't have the GPS and mirrors up. Yeah, I talked about that earlier in terms of like when I was parking, having the fake mirror on the right, and it's just because I don't like moving the viewpoint across the other side all the time, because you can use the camera and like look right, but it's just a faff. Like in reality, you have better peripheral vision, so you've got a wider view anyway, so you can like just glance off to the right and see your mirror instead of having to turn your head. That was my issue with playing this in VR, is that you still don't have a much wider field of view. So you still have to, or it's more that the peripheral is really out of focus, so you still have to like turn all the time, which is really annoying. Driving through Wyoming and see a Volvo driving at 100 mile an hour across the highway. Shut yourself. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, that's the other thing, is I don't play this game realistically in terms of what I do. In terms of busting along at 88 mile an hour, or whatever I can get away with, depending on what trailer I'm hauling. So, you know, realism goes out the window there a little bit. I also don't think that a real-life trucker would have been able to accrue $2.5 million debt-free. So, you know, it's a fantasy game in that regard. I like to do things like reasonably. It's that balance, right? It's the balance between some feeling of realism and like it's realistic instead of realism. I think it's kind of a halfway house. Concessions to quality of life, as I say. Rather than having to do this to look at my mirrors, I'd just have it sitting there in the corner, and it's just so much nicer on my thumbs. And same thing with the GPS. Like, I mean, in real life, you can usually configure a dash GPS like that, and it would have like voice commands and all of that sort of thing that you could plot routes on the fly, and yeah, all of that sort of thing. Like, I try not to look at the map too much when I'm driving along for that same sort of reason. I prefer to do it when I'm stopped because it just feels better. But at the end of the day, the ability is there. I'm not going to impair my gameplay experience just for the sake of it. I want to enjoy myself after all. 88 driving a Volvo, not a DeLorean. Yeah, but as soon as I saw 88, I had to. Right? Also, I think with this trailer, I'm not going to go much faster than 90 anyway. So there's no point trying to accelerate more. I'll just keep it at about that. It's usually what ends up happening. I mean, what do we got? We've got a 41,000 pounds of beverages, so yeah, can only do so much, even with this engine. It's the same sort of reasons, like for convenience sake, I have all of the traffic fines turned off. And, well, not traffic. Traffic fines I do have turned off. Yeah. So I'll hit a vehicle and I'll incur damage that I have to repair. That's my penalty, but I won't get fined for it. A lot of that is like early on I was still trying to obey those sorts of rules and stuff anyway, because if you run a red light, you're more likely to get hit by traffic, and then you have to pay for repairs. You know, whether or not you get pinged for running the red light doesn't really make any difference. That $200 is nothing to the $2,000 you might have to pay for repairs.
Go straight.
But I got stung far too many times where someone would change lanes into me and I would get fined, and that's annoying. Or you would creep over the intersection line by like a foot and it would ping you for the red light camera. And it's like, well, in that case I may as well just keep going then. And obviously speeding, because it's a fun game. I love the scenery. That doesn't mean to say I want to drive through it at the speed limit. I want to go fast. Yeah, I don't want to drive through at 45, I'm sorry. Though, when there's an Armco on the side of the road, I should probably stop rather than crash into that. You know. If I'd been quicker, I could have gone round, but then there might have been something coming up the other side, so...
Go straight.
Again, it's just that balance. And like I was saying before, when I was leaving Evanston, it's a testament to the game that you can play how you like. It's really good. It's just enough realistic physics where you can drift. Yep, drifted through LA in a semi, yeah. Yeah, you kind of can. Yeah, with no trailer on especially.
Keep left.
A button on the wheel that changes the camera to look at your mirror so you don't... Ah, okay, interesting. I didn't realise there was a shortcut to focus on the mirror specifically. Because I just have the right stick on my controller so I can look around. And then if I click it, then it zeroes it back in so that I don't kind of drive along slightly looking off to the side, because that really bugs me. Yeah, if I'm just driving along like this, I hate it. Yeah, it's interesting you say about the physics, because back in version 1.3, I think up to 1.33 or 3.4, the physics was much more arcade style. In the Euro Truck Simulator speedrun in particular, we run on the older version for most runs that we can get away with it anyway in terms of DLC requirements and stuff, like so Edinburgh to London, for example, and Aberdeen to Bratislava. You run on an older version because the physics is more arcade, so you can turn really quickly at like 100 k's an hour, because they updated the physics to be more realistic, and it's like quite amusing because then people in the speedrun community complain that, oh, they broke the game physics at that version. Like, they made it so that I'll just drift and then I'll just bounce really hard and like I'll hit the curb and just like take a ton of damage. It's like, yes, that's what happens. You tell me that you can turn a semi like this through a 90-degree corner at 100 k's an hour in real life without tipping.
Go straight.
Good luck. If you want arcade physics, play Need for Speed or Forza. Because that's the thing that I find quite fun about this, is trying to do ludicrous speeds and, yeah, almost break physics by just kind of, but working within the limitations. Like, you can feel it tugging and wanting to oversteer. And if you've got a trailer attached especially and you go too fast, then you feel it wanting to flip. And that's the thing, is the challenge is treading that line and going as fast as you can without actually totaling it. That's where the fun is to me.
Keep right, and then turn right.
One hand on your wheel and the other on your mouse. Yeah, I don't have a wheel, I use a Xbox control.
Turn right.
I have two thumbsticks, so
Good
left
driving.
thumbstick for turning, right thumbstick for looking around, triggers for brake and accelerator, paddles for gear changes, and D-pad for various accessories, A for confirm obviously, B for parking brake, X for engage cruise control, Y for resume. Up D-pad for lights, down, up D-pad for windscreen wipers, down D-pad for lights, left and right for the indicators. Those are my chosen weapons. Which feel really intuitive to me, but were not the defaults. I can't remember what the defaults were, but I remember always having to change them. But if I ever do a new game speedrun, like trying to do first truck trailer and stuff like that, I always have to go through and change a lot of my default controls because, yeah, they don't make sense, the defaults for controller. There we go, decoupling. So Modra makes the ground super icy, oh dear, that's just silly. Excellent job, that's much better than the satisfactory one we did before. The wheel is great. It is, yep. Yeah, great for it's great for any driving game, any driving or racing game. I don't play enough of them to warrant it. Whereas I play more games that benefit from a controller in terms of like some platformers and stuff. I mean, not that I have for a while, but I have them. I could play them. Okay, so we made it to Cody. And that looks like a fun road to drive through towards Sheridan. And then we're just going to push on towards Gillette because
Ready to roll.
That's the job that we can find. And we'll take what we can get. I should have driven around the other side actually to come out the other side. That's fine, we'll just drive down here instead.
Let's find a new route.
It's one of those things where it's like, I'm not trying to discover the whole map, but when there's just a little bit of something that I feel like could discover, it feels bad not to. See now, I've added Cody, and I appreciate they've added Cody. This road makes no sense. Surely there is a road that goes through? I don't know. If I look at a map of this town and see that there is just this horseshoe shape,
go straight.
Where does this road go? Down to the right. Why can I not go that way? Why does that go to a hill instead of through to the other side? It's weird. It's a common thing that I find with a lot of their towns is they'll have these little side streets and stuff. It's like, well, why can't I go down them? You know, why can't I drive down there? Yeah, I don't expect to explore the whole town, but when it's like something like this where it would just connect up to the other side, that one even does go through, I'm just not allowed to go down there for some reason. Sure, in real life maybe it's blocked off for heavy traffic and you're not supposed to go down it, but so, this is a game. Nice big lake. Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Keep left, and then turn left. Turn left.
Braking too hard, I'm just too used to pulling a trailer.
Turn right. Here we are. Kind of on time.
Kind of on time. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Keep hitting B instead of A. Alright, still valid? Good.
Time to get the
It's a
job
fragile
done.
one. We've got to be careful with this one. How am I picking this one up? Oh, it's not here. It's further around. I can see the bouncing ring. Ah, it's all the way down here. Gotcha. Okay.
Pedal to the metal.
And attach. And let's review the route now. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Not much to really look at, but the way station there that I might be forced into, there's a viewpoint there that I will go into regardless. And then we'll head through Sheridan. Oh, we've been this way but not the other way? That's annoying. I need to go the other way. Or, I need to go on the wrong side of the road. Question mark? Is that a viewpoint? Let's find out. That's a truck dealer, but I've been to that one. Oh, that was the Devil's Tower, that's right. I specifically made my way up there. So where's the other viewpoints, I wonder? Down here somewhere? Ah, yeah. Cheyenne. Ah, I've discovered it, but didn't go to it. I think that's where I finished up, and I meant to go back to it, and never did. That happens. Then there's this one. It's on the border, but probably counts. Because it's not one of the Idaho ones. neither's that, so those two will actually count as Wyoming DLC, I think. Right. Okay, so we're gonna get a couple short.
Get on with it.
All good. First, we'll see this through to the destination. Should take a good, what's,
Turn left.
4x3,
Turn left.
5x3, quarter of an hour or so.
Turn
Pretty
left.
good going. Yeah, we've managed to get to Cody, we've explored, we've ticked off another couple of the Wyoming roads. So I would like to get to all of the viewpoints, but it looks like I'm going to have to backtrack across to the other side. That said, there is that other section of road to the west of Cody that I have not been on. So the answer there might be to get a delivery that goes all the way back through to even into Idaho or maybe even Utah to get all the way down. We'll just follow that border down. That's probably a good idea at some point. What am I doing? I've got plenty of time. 6 hours 15 for sleep, 4 hours 20 ETA. I'm speeding. It'll be fine. But yeah, there is more to explore. It'll just take a little bit of time. Hopefully we can get it done before the Montana release, but
Turn left.
if not, that's fine. I think I've been buying a few garages around up here so I can walk back rather than drive all the way from Arizona again. I can't remember if there is a way to move your headquarters. I would hope so. Because I initially started in Flagstaff because A, I liked the place, and B, it was very central to what there was because there was California, there was Arizona, there's Nevada, New Mexico was the first one that got added, I believe. So, Flagstaff was a nice central location to start.
Go straight.
But now it's quite far away from where new things are being added. So it would be kind of nice to be able to relocate my headquarters. Maybe to somewhere, even just in Colorado, but otherwise to Wyoming, potentially. It is kind of annoying that they put you all the way back to your headquarters. Maybe it's where your truck is assigned. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. I just need to assign my truck. Just relocate my truck basis to a particular garage. That's probably it. I'm overthinking this. That's all it's going to be. So all I need to do is just make sure I nominate myself. Like, if I buy a garage up here, to make sure that I assign myself to that garage, and then that should be the one that I end up teleported back to. Shouldn't matter where my initial headquarters was. That only exists as a special type of garage when you start the game because it's only got one driver berth initially. It's only big enough for you. You have to upgrade it before you can hire new drivers. After that point, it ceases being special, really.
Finding new route.
Generally, the garage that you're located will just end up being the most profitable. Though not guaranteed if you're messing around too much. Scenic area, don't mind if I do.
Recomputing.
turning around up here might be a bit annoying, but
Finding new route.
we'll be fine. Let's try and do
Make
that
a
first
U-turn
before
now.
we actually access the viewpoint. Perfect. Brake, engine, viewpoint. 7 out of 10, yeah, and then Shane will be 8, and then there's the 2 down the border. That works. Nice view. And kind of looking over towards where we will be going. There's a town in the distance that might be one that we end up. Okay, I appreciate the viewpoints, but what's this showing? This is just the road. That's better because it's a nice big sweeping drawback shot. Some deer. Lovely. And finally we see our truck in all its bison glory. Very nice. Off we go. It does waste a bit of time, but we're still good on rest. We'll have an hour in hand. Assuming we travel
Turn right.
efficiently. We're gonna have to cross over a bit. Yeah, no one coming. That's good. This is gonna be some fun bit of road down here. Yeah, teasers. Ah, I love the song. Approaching Havana has some really good stuff. Crazy how the speed limit through here is still 65. That seems unwise. This corner is apparently 25. Keep wanting to cut the corners more, but then cars keep coming around the corner. Yeah, it looks like we join onto a motorway or something up here.
Get ready to turn right. Turn right.
I'm not going to try and cut the corner. I probably could have and just driven over the grass, but just in case. We'll see whether or not we get called into this way station up here. It looks like it's probably one that's more like the services as opposed to a compulsory one, but I'm not sure. Port of entry. Yeah, it'll probably be compulsory then. Pre-pass, follow in-car signals. There we go, yeah. Port of entry is open, that means we have to stop. I have fines turned off. I don't have to stop. But it's one of those things that I'd rather do it still. Feels wrong not to.
Rerouting.
Also, it means I discover the rest stop, so hey.
Go straight. Okay, let's find a new route.
Any
Turn
chance you
right.
can go faster, dude? No, speed limit 10. Okay, can I swoop in and just steal it in front of you? Probably could. But, whatever. I have done that before. More likely just to take damage and not achieve anything. I like how they don't even stop. It's like, I have to stop and press a button. They just keep driving. Something like that. Now I should be able to overtake him.
Keep left, and then turn left.
And unfortunately I hit one of the bollards. Never mind.
Turn left. Keep right, and then turn right. Turn right.
Back down to the main road. It kind of sucks when there's the way stations like that, position like that, because it's like I'll never be able to discover that intersection fully unless I skip the check, pretty much. Because even coming from the other direction is likely to demand that I stop. I wonder what happens if you're just taking a delivery to the industry that's there. Because it looks like there was an industry there. Surely they don't make you stop then. If they do, that kind of sucks. Guess we go this way. Two hours. And each in-game hour is approximately 3 minutes real time. Then we've got a park at the end, that'll take. Blasting through Sheridan. And then it's just main road all the way to Gillette, I guess, so...
Keep right. Then
Oh, we
exit
were
right.
going to stop off at that place over there. You know what? Let's be cheeky about this.
Never mind. I'll find recomputing. Rerouting.
Then can I cut the corner here? Yes. Good. Now, what's down the end here? If this is just a recruitment agency, I'm going to be a bit annoyed. But I think it is, to be honest, because I think I've accounted for all the checkpoints
Please make
happening.
a U-turn when
It's just a
possible.
recruitment agency. Rude. Well, I guess I'll back in and then back
Okay,
out again
let's
so
find a new
that I
route.
can more easily turn around.
Make a U-turn now.
I mean, having more recruitment agencies in the pool
Turn
is
right.
nice, so that way I get more drivers presented to me if I'm wanting to hire. And at some point I do need to go through and just do a hiring storm and just buy a ton of trucks, sign a ton of drivers. I say need, I don't think I need to at all. In ETS2 there was an achievement, especially around having 10
left.
male and 10
Turn
female
left.
drivers get to level 10. I'm not sure there's any AI
Turn
driver-based achievements in this game at all. Which is kind of bizarre. But I can understand not having that one in particular because that was such a... like, I have so many 100 hours in ETS2 and it took until recently before I actually unlocked that achievement. You can also just sleep a lot, to be fair. You can just hire all of your AI drivers and then just sleep an awful lot and they'll just level up over time. You can like sleep 3 times in a row. So you just sleep 3 times, do a quick delivery, sleep 3 more times. So this is once again where maybe I should have stayed on the other side of the road because I remember that it was not discovered. But there is the road section west of Cody we're likely to want to come back to, so we will At some point, we need to take a delivery from the east of the state, travel west, and follow the northern road the whole way, and that'll cover off the other side there. It won't do any wonders for the rest of this intersection, unfortunately. But you can't have everything. Even here I could actually just cross the center line, to be honest, and just go with it, but it's fine. Still got the bit at the intersection that I'd have to cover over anyway. Starting to get drowsy. We've got, what, hour 40 left? Your character starts yawning when there's like 2 hours left on the shift, it seems. It's a long grace period. In real life, I've been yawning the whole time, I think, so...
Keep right, then exit right. Exit right.
And now it's turned red already, even though it's... Oh, it's less than an hour 30 that it turns red, okay. Reasonable, I suppose. In-game time does travel quite fast when you're out the town areas. Once you hit the urban areas, then dilation kicks in, and it's kind of the opposite, where it's like 20 seconds is 1 minute in-game time, but outside of the city it ticks much quicker.
Go straight.
I think outside of the city it's like every 3 seconds is 1 minute in-game time.
Keep left, and then turn left.
Apparently I've been here before, but possibly from the other direction.
Get ready to turn left.
There's a garage down there that I should buy, so I can assign myself
Turn
to
left.
it. I think we will do that after this job.
Get ready to turn left. Turn left. Finally, we are here.
Okay, at the depot, where do you want it? Okay. Is this one that I can just drive through from this side, or are they going to make me reverse from the other side? I've got a truck in the way. You bastards. But could you move that truck, please? 'Cause that's really annoying. Okay, never mind. We can't make that turn. Seriously. Seriously. What kind of irresponsible freight management is this? At least we can just do this, and then we can line up mostly. Straight up with it. There you go. At least it wasn't between 2 trailers directly. That would have been even more awkward. Not too difficult, but a bit more awkward.